happened? What has transpired here at the First Bank Center here in Denver, Colorado? It wasn't just a big night of fights. It was a big night of memorable moments.
Conor McGregor with us here in Denver, Colorado. Good left hand from Rockhold. Right hand, right back from Mike Perry.
Can I get a face-off with Conor McGregor, man?
It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect. And I'm into this game, yeah. I'll be into this, yeah.
And we are live here in the Maverick Center here in Salt Lake City, Utah, folks. What a night. It is going to be historic indeed for BKFC 56.
Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight.
Perry on the target. Right hand from Mike Perry. Double jab. Who's the king of violence? I am!
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
80 seconds remaining.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
Welcome to hour number 2, live right here on the early line on this Tuesday on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. 2 more hours to go and plenty to dive into here in this second hour. It is Win Total Tuesday around the National Football League. Cut Day Tuesday as well in the NFL. 4 teams will be our focus today within the NFC South division. DRS, did you know that today is our 8th and final Win Total Tuesday? It is our final division in the NFC South on this Tuesday.
Fantastic. The people would love to hear our opinions on this NFC South, which means Kirk Cousins and the boys in Atlanta going up against Baker Mayfield, and who knows what Carr is going to do. And there's a quarterback named Bryce Young that was drafted number 1 overall. We're looking to see if he gets up off the carpet for year number 2. So we got a lot of things to hit this hour, no doubt.
Yes, we certainly do, because it's our final Win Total Tuesday in the offseason, training camp, preseason time frame before next week, which will be game week in the National Football League, entering week number 1. Enough of the futures forecast. We start to break down game lines, which we will do here to start off hour number 2. Why? It's game week for week number 1 in college football. We shared yesterday, week 0 was a wonderful appetizer that if it means anything for the entirety of 2024, we can expect chaos. All 4 underdogs covering the spread in the 4 FBS games that we had on Saturday. But again, it's just 4 FBS games. We've got more than that on Friday. We've got 6. We've got 21 on Thursday, 2 days out. We've got 67 FBS games on Saturday. It makes me emotional when I think about it. 1 on Sunday, 1 on Monday as well, starting in 2 days, 5 consecutive days of college football. So let's go to that Friday night slate. In Oklahoma, the 16th ranked team in the preseason, now a member of the SEC, will get ready to go for you want to take it? You want to set the stage?
Oh man, that's good. Hold on.
You
Delay,
saw our
delay,
producer.
delay. No Ben, no Ben, no
You
Ben.
saw,
Yeah.
listen, you saw our producer, Joe Frieso, yesterday. You did not hear him right there, but in our headsets, in our IFB, he wanted to let me know that 1 second for the graphic. No, I agree, Joe. It just was pretty good as we're building up the game to say it right then and there. It does stem a little bit of the momentum, but the graphic is now here. And thank God we have a graphic to show that Oklahoma is a 42.5-point favorite in their season opener in Norman against Temple. That over under 58.5. So again, you'll see this in spots in week number 1. Whether it's a lowly FBS program like Temple or an FCS team, you're going to see a lot of highly ranked teams around the country be a hefty favorite by many, many touchdowns, where the spread almost equals the total. OU laying 42.5 at home, and the over-under 58 and a hook, DRS.
I was looking at that great graphic now back up on the screen, a 42.5-point favorite. And a real pros pro doesn't even care what graphic goes up on the screen, nor does he know what graphic is going up on the screen. He can just, with the pause or delay for anything at this point. But if we are setting up this game, this should be a blowout route. And the shame of it is, too, from a Temple perspective, you know me. I'm close to Philadelphia here, big Eagles fan, grew up watching Temple basketball, the John Chaney years, and certainly rooting them on. They had that resurgence there, the Al Golden years and setting up things, and you take a look at them with a sold-out Lincoln Financial Field, almost knocking off a solid Notre Dame team, then falling back to these measures, which last year, what do we have, 130? Is it 135 or 36? How many Division I football teams do we have in the country? I think it's in the 130s at this point.
FBS entering 2024 with the addition of Kennesaw State is 134 total programs.
Yeah, so let's go 134. Like, you look at Temple last year, 114th in points per game, 121 in points per play, and also 130th in red zone scoring. You can't just take that on the road and say, hey, let's see. And granted, we're using last year's statistics, but correct me if I'm wrong. Nobody's hyping up Temple to do any damage in college football this year. This is one of those games where Oklahoma sets their season schedule at home and says, blowout win, let's get right. Let's get out here to a great start and see what we can do. 58.5-point total. That's not really necessarily on Temple. Can Temple get 14 points, right? Because this is screaming, Ben. 35-0 in the second quarter. Those are the vibes I'm getting from this game.
Listen, it's going to be very, very difficult for Temple, a team that has gone 3-9 in each of the last 3 years. Stan Drayton has been the head coach for the last 2, so his combined record just 6-18. The Owls with bottom 10 in terms of the returning production for 2024, only 36% of Temple's production from a season ago is back, which could be considered a good thing. All right, we weren't very good. Let's get some new faces in new places, or it's an indication it's going to be another struggle because the guys that you would expect to be there for year-over-year improvement aren't back for the Owls. Matt Rule was great in Philadelphia. He won back-to-back years of 10 games for Temple before he went on to Baylor. It continued over for a few years at Temple. It's been a struggle. And as an underdog 10 times a season ago, the Owls just 2-8 against the spread. Now, Oklahoma, a 10-win football team last year in year number 2 in Norman under Brent Venables. You would think, okay, 10 wins, improving from just 6 in 2022. OU is going to make a statement in the SEC. The win total 7.5. And the under has the hefty juice. Why? Oklahoma's schedule, one of the most difficult that you will see. The two newcomers into the Southeastern Conference, the two rivals that date back to the flag bearers of the Big 12, Oklahoma and Texas. One got a favorable schedule by SEC standards, that being the Longhorns. The other in the Sooners, not so much. Oklahoma had the third best total offense last year, averaging 507 yards per game, nearly 42 points per game. But that was Dylan Gabriel at the quarterback spot. Now it's the future currently in Norman. Jackson Arnold, the sophomore, takes over at the quarterback spot. Made his first start in the Alamo Bowl against Arizona. Some good, some bad. 26 of 45 for 361 yards. 2 TDs, but 3 INTs, 11 carries for 38 yards. He was the 10th best recruit nationally in the 2023 class, the 4th best quarterback in the country. Very high expectations for Arnold in his time in Norman, but it could be a struggle of a season, even for an Oklahoma team, Donnie, that enters the year ranked 16th in the country.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for. And I'm finally happy that this is all playing out because we understand the almighty dollar is driving these. And you can't fault the chancellors, the presidents, the Board of Regents for saying, okay, we're making $40 million on this hand. If we go to the SEC, we'll make $65 million. Of course, that's going to make the most sense. But from a fan perspective for Oklahoma, you're used to entering into your season saying, hey, we have an outside chance at least to make a run to the national championship, which means recruiting is higher, fan base is higher, more apt to make donations. What happens if you go to the SEC? And I'm not even going to downgrade Oklahoma and say they're going to be a middling program, but let's just say they're not challenging for the supremacy of the SEC. That fan base is going to be like, boy, was that a really good move because it's the almighty dollar when we head into the season. You can pencil in 8 wins, and if we beat our rival Texas in the Red River rivalry, we might be headed to a Big 12 championship and in the playoff. That's a lot more fun than going like, yeah, it's great being in the SEC, but we only win 7 to 8 games per year. That is a gauntlet schedule on a year-to-year basis that you didn't used to have, and now you do. I want to see how this plays out.
Here is the schedule. SEC opener for Oklahoma at home against Tennessee on Saturday, September 21st. They have the Red River rivalry that continues, road trips to Ole Miss, Missouri, and LSU, and sandwiched in between, it's a home game against Alabama. It is daunting for Oklahoma, a team that dominated the Big 12, unlike Texas, who won its first conference championship since 2009. Last year, OU had 14 Big 12 titles in the last 25 seasons. Elsewhere on Friday, TCU looks for a bounce back in 2024 after a 5-win season a season ago. They'll take on Stanford. Keep an eye on Josh Hoover, passing yards prop. Michigan State, it's the debut of the Jonathan Smith era. They're a 2-touchdown favorite against FAU. PGA Tour plays next.
I told y'all time and time again, Trey Murphy the third. Trey Murphy the third. I'm telling y'all, this guy can absolutely ball as a 3-and-D guy, and he's going to take the next step.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Hey, let's say it comes down for Matt Kuchar in the FedEx Cup fall. Let's say he doesn't make a cut, and it comes down to one shot. And
that's a good point.
And he keeps his card for the top 125 because he did make the jump from, I think it was 113 to 103. So he made a 10-spot jump. So he's got, 17, or let's see, that was not good math. He's got about 20.
Not a math bot. The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
It is the FedEx Cup postseason finale this week, where it always ends at the Tour Championship at Eastlake in Atlanta, Georgia. A man on the road throughout the FedEx Cup playoffs at the third and final spot. Keith Stewart joins us live right here on this Tuesday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Keith, as always, we appreciate the time. Thanks for being here on the SportsGrid Network.
Well, you know what, Donnie, Ben, it's great to be back with you on a Tuesday, but it's not great to be back in the heat and the humidity of sea level, man. It was spectacular last week in Denver. I didn't know how good I had it, but we're back here in hot Atlanta, and we're ready to go on a brand new, newly renovated East Lake Golf Club.
And we'll see what that means this week for the Tour Championship. Last week out in Castle Rock, Colorado at the BMW Championship, the second leg of 3 in the FedEx Cup playoffs. It was the United States Ryder Cup captain in 2025. Keegan Bradley still doing it out there with the sticks, winning that second leg. He will enter East Lake in 4th out of the 30 guys that have made it to the Tour Championship. And Keith, it looks a little bit different this week. You have the starting strokes, the staggered start component of the Tour Championship. As simply as you can, explain the format, please, to all of our viewers here on the Early Line.
So all of these guys, the top 30 that have made their way here to East Lake for the Tour Championship, have been accumulating FedEx Cup points since January. Wherever you lie on the FedEx Cup list, through the top 30 is where you get these staggered strokes. And the Tour did this back in 2019 in an effort to not have a winner at East Lake, but also a FedEx Cup winner. So they're giving an advantage to those who have played the best. So number 1 at 10 under par, starting before the tournament even begins, is Scottie Scheffler, the number 1 player in the world. 7 wins, a gold medal, and a green jacket does get you something. It gets him 2 strokes over number 2, which is Xander Schauffele, who's got those 2 major championships. He's back there at 8 under par. And then it goes down the list from there. So this way, whoever wins on Sunday, whoever has the lowest score on the scoreboard will be your FedEx Cup champion and earn $25 million.
Big time payday up for grabs. Keith, tell us a little bit about the East Lake Golf Club there. It looks like a par 70, about 7,300 yards. How does this set up? And also, who might it benefit this golf course here during this tournament this week?
Well, Donnie, here's the thing. It was a par 70, but since last year's tournament, they brought in architect Andrew Green. He redid Oak Hill for the PGA, famous name, up-and-comer in the architecture business, and they spent all year, and it's been a tight timeline, but they have redesigned the golf course. They have renovated back to those Donald Ross days. Forgotten are the muted moguls of Reese Jones that when he came in and he kind of turned this place into just a Bermuda Gardens. It's back, it's authentic, and it's back to that Donald design that everybody is going to love. He's opened up a lot of the view lines. He has given these guys the opportunity to now play a classic design with a little bit of a modern twist. We're going to add 1 par. It's going to be par 71. The 14th hole is going to go from a 4 to a 5, and we're going to add 144 yards. But here's the kicker, and this is why Green knows what he's doing. He lengthened 14 holes, but he shortened 3 of them. And keep an eye on that 8th hole. It is along the East Lake, and it is a drivable par 4 now, which is going to be really, really entertaining.
So, Keith, the last 2 years, Scottie Scheffler, world number 1, has entered East Lake at 10 under in the top spot in the FedEx Cup standings, but he has failed to win the FedEx Cup. Rory McIlroy back in 2022, Victor Hovland getting it done in 2023. In fact, Scheffler has struggled a little bit at the Tour Championship. He has called the staggered start, the starting strokes format, silly, even as recently as the last few weeks. Scottie Scheffler, for a 3rd straight year, enters Atlanta in that top spot, the favorite to win the FedEx Cup. Will year number 3 be the charm for Scottie Scheffler?
Ben, I'm not so sure. I think Scotty's in his own head, and we saw it last week out in Denver. He didn't play very well, adjusting to the altitude, and it seems like when everything's cookie cutter, Scotty is no doubt the best player in the field. But when there's anything that throws him off just the slightest bit, oh boy, I would watch out for Xander. I mean, I think he is definitely the play to win the FedEx Cup. He's only 2 strokes behind, and you look at his history here at East Lake, and I know there's been a redesign, but in 7 trips previously, he's won the gross low score 3 times, right? So even through the staggered start, this guy is still playing the best over 4 rounds and making the most birdies. With him in second place And, last week in the press room, he was all fired up to get down here and get to one of his favorite places on tour. I think Scotty's in a lot of trouble. I think it's going to be 3 for 3 that Scotty loses the FedEx Cup on the final week of the year.
How about that? You take a look at Scotty Scheffler at the FanDuel Sportsbook, plus 110 price. You see Xander Schauffele at plus 230 price. You got some big numbers for some really good golfers, Keith. Give me a guy or two maybe down the board that you might be hunting this week at East Lake.
All right, so there's 2 different ways to play this, guys. There'll be a shadow tournament out there, which will be the 72-hole gross score. So forget the starting strokes, and that's where you're going to get the longer numbers. And there's a guy by the name of Sam Bermuda Burns, and we are down here where the Bermuda grass is just flourishing, especially on those greens, which are recently planted. And here's the thing. As a PGA professional, I'm here to tell you that when you plant those greens, when they first come out, they are super, super grainy. So this will be as Bermuda as it gets down here. And Sam Burns in the gross tournament, forget those staggered start strokes, right? That's going to cut everyone's number super, super short. Find it on FanDuel. Look for the shadow tournament for the 72-hole gross winner. And I like Sam Burns, right? Okay, guys, 12th at the 3M, 5th at the St. Jude on Bermuda grass, 2nd last week out there in Denver. The guy is playing great, and there's no doubt he can adjust to these new greens and make a ton of birdies.
So Xander Schauffele at plus 230. Keith likes the look with the early leans here on the early line to be that FedEx Cup champion when all is said and done. And Sam Burns just to have the best week in Atlanta at East Lake. That is the structure of the Tour Championship, the third and final spot at the FedEx Cup postseason. Keith, battle that humidity down there in Atlanta. And if you see Brent Key, the head coach of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, tell him congrats from both of us on a great outright victory over Florida State in Dublin.
I'm going to spend some time over at Georgia Tech, no doubt, with the golf team. So I'll be sure to look them up and pass along your words from the early line.
Keith Stewart, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the week at East Lake. More on the early line up next.
I told y'all time and time again, Trey Murphy the third. Trey Murphy the third. I'm telling y'all, this guy can absolutely ball as a 3-and-D guy, and he's going to take the next step.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Hey, let's say it comes down for Matt Kuchar in the FedEx Cup Fall. Let's say he doesn't make a cut, and it comes down to one shot. And
that's a good point.
And he keeps his card for the top 125 because he did make the jump from, I think it was 113 to 103. So he made a 10-spot jump. So he's got, 17, or let's see, that was not good math. He's got about 20.
Not a bad one. The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
Our 8th and final Win Total Tuesday in a row, live right here on the early line. Why is it our 8th and final? Well, that's all the divisions in the National Football League, which has been our focus week to week around the National Football League. And next week, so what about the futures and the win totals? We'll talk actual game lines entering week number 1. It is game week around the NFL starting next week. It is cut day today, and it's the final Win Total Tuesday live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. Maybe we save the best for last. Maybe that's the thought as we look around the NFC South on this Tuesday. Regarded by most, the RS, I would say, is the worst division in the National Football League, but number 1 perhaps in our hearts, despite being the 8th and final on Win Total Tuesday. But there's a newcomer in the NFC South that is expected to do big things right away in 2024. His name, Kirk Cousins, his team, the Atlanta Falcons. They are an odds-on favorite at minus 145 to win the divisional title this year in the NFC South. The Buccaneers have won the division the last 3 years, the first 2 with Tom Brady, albeit with a losing record in 2022, last year with Baker Mayfield. The preseason favorites a season ago, the New Orleans Saints, came up just shy last year of the Buccaneers, but did finish with a winning record. And the Carolina Panthers have the longest price in this division at 11-1. The Panthers had the worst record in the National Football League a season ago at just 2-15. NFC South, the overview. From the mind of Donnie Rightside, what's your first thought?
I think they're priced appropriately here, and Atlanta by far and away is the best team in this division. I think they have the best quarterback in this division, and the defense got a little bit better here, adding on Simmons as a safety, which going along with Jesse Bates III, a formidable concept here. And also, you're taking a look at the wide receiver position. Drake London, I think, is really going to take that next step this year. Now, we're going to say, hey, same thing as Justin Jefferson. We're not buying into that type of hype, but now you have a quarterback that's going to be able to deliver the football when he's open. That's a big deal. And you say, well, how big a deal could it be? What, did you see Desmond Ridder throwing the football out there last year? Did you see Taylor Heineke? No longer. You have an actual Pro Bowl quarterback that's ready to let loose in a division that plays, you should say your home games in a dome, and also you get that dome appearance there down in New Orleans. I like everything about this offseason outside of, I guess, the new head coaching hire for the Falcons. But to me, I never bought into the Buccaneers. We'll see what we're going to get out of the New Orleans Saints, who I thought were the best team in the division last year and came up lame. We'll see if we get that young quarterback in Bryce Young to perform this year in Carolina. But for me, on day number 1, player for player, team by team, it's the Atlanta Falcons that are the best team in this division.
So, DRS, I said it in our opening hour as we were already excited for our final Win Total Tuesday around the National Football League. 2017 was the last time within this division, within the NFC South, that 3 of the 4 teams, more than half, 3 of the 4 teams all had a winning record. Tampa Bay won this division with Tom Brady back in 2021 with a 13-4 record. It was the last time, now 3 years ago, a divisional champ in the NFC South got to double-digit wins. The Buccaneers won the division for a second consecutive year in 2022. They had a losing record. Last season, 2 teams finished with a winning record at 9-8, but the Buccaneers had the tiebreaker advantage over the New Orleans Saints. So then you look at the divisional odds, which we showed you, which features the Falcons as nearly a $1.50 favorite, and tie it into the win totals. 9.5 the number for the Falcons. The over has the juice, expected to be a double-digit win team. If Atlanta does that, the first double-digit win NFC South divisional champ since 2021. The Bucs and the Saints both at 7.5. And to say something nice about both Tampa and New Orleans, the juice is on the over, expected to contend for 8, potentially 9 wins. The Panthers have juice on the over as well at 5.5 for a team that won only 2 games last year.
Yeah, they're low numbers, but they're there for a reason. I do think the Panthers will be much better this year than they were last year. Canales should be able to say, you know what? I resurrected Baker Mayfield's career. I can do the same thing with Bryce Young. Because remember, it wasn't a 6th-round draft pick in Bryce Young that you're trying to fold into an NFL spot. This is one of the best players in college football that woefully underperformed because he didn't have a lot of talent around him. Got him a wide receiver this year. But if we are focused once again on those two teams in the middle, the New Orleans Saints, so disappointing last year. They still have a lot of talent on that football team. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just not buying in, but they brought the band back together that won the division last year. So they will be competitive. But for me, once again, Atlanta, for me, the best team in the NFC South. Ben.
And we'll start with the best team and the odds-on favorite. Up next, Falcons win total here on the early line.
I told y'all time and time again, Trey Murphy the third. Trey Murphy the third. I'm telling y'all, this guy can absolutely ball as a 3-and-D guy, and he's going to take the next step.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Hey, let's say it comes down for Matt Kuchar in the FedEx Cup ball. Let's say he doesn't make a cut, and it comes down to one shot. And
that's a good point.
And he keeps his card for the top 125 because he did make the jump from, I think it was 113 to 103. So he made a 10-spot jump. So he's got, 17, or let's see, that was not good math. He's got about 20.
Not a math bot. The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
The Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins now expected to run away with the NFC South in the 2024 NFL season. 9.5 is the win total for the Dirty Birds. They're a minus 145 favorite to win the NFC South title this season. 3 years under Arthur Smith, the exact same record in all 3 of the past NFL campaigns, 7-10. But now in year number 1 under Raheem Morris, back in the ATL, with a shiny new quarterback in Kirk Cousins, who signed a 4-year, $180 million deal, and an offense expected to put up a ton of numbers. The Falcons are that divisional odds-on favorite, looking to become the first double-digit win divisional champ in the NFC South since the Buccaneers back in 2021. That is the expectation, Donnie, in the ATL this season. Will the Falcons match it?
I think they will, because I think they're the most complete team in that division. If you're taking a look at what works in the NFL, give me a really good offensive line. The Atlanta Falcons have that. Give me an athletic tight end that can get open downfield and bust coverages. Pitts can do that for you. Give me a young, talented wide receiver that hasn't met his ceiling yet because of the quarterback play. Now as a quarterback, and he can meet that ceiling in Drake London. And also an unbelievable, explosive running back in Bijan Robinson that we're waiting to unleash this year. And then, of course, Kirk Cousins at quarterback. Now, Flip it over to the defensive side. Give me a good defensive line with a solid pass rush. You add Matthew Judon. That does the trick here. Give me a cornerback that can be a lockdown corner. A.J. Terrell. Remind you, Ben, that he is the highest paid cornerback in football now. Give me a safety tandem that can erase bad plays out of the quarterback position if there are them. That's Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons on the back end. There's no weak links on this football team, and that's what you look for. So when we compare it to the other three teams in the division, going grouping by grouping, this is the best team out there. We'll see what Raheem Morris has, because one thing we do know about Raheem Morris is, forget about him as a head coach. He's a really good defensive coordinator. So if that defensive game plan is set week to week by him, and you're getting solid quarterback play at Kirk Cousins, why are we not winning 9 to 10 football games and taking down this division? If they don't win 9 or more games, that's an upset for the Atlanta Falcons, and I don't know where they go from here. But barring disastrous injury, which we always have to say, the Atlanta Falcons are the best team in the NFC South, Ben.
Yeah, no doubt about it, DRS. And when you look at the strength of schedule, it is ripe for Atlanta to take advantage of this year. According to Sharp Analytics and our guy, perhaps Warren Sharp, entering 2024, the Falcons have the easiest strength of schedule in the National Football League. And I love what Sharp and his team do, because it's based on how we set the odds week by week in the National Football League. It's not combined record from 2023 of their opponents. It's the projected win totals of the team on Atlanta's schedule this year. And it takes into account things like rest advantage and disadvantage, travel, and all of that goes into shaping these lines week to week. Who is favored, who is expected to win, and then how many games can you win in a single season. The Falcons have the easiest schedule in the National Football League. Frankly, if they're not a double-digit win team, if they do not win the NFC South, then you're going to have a lot of questions to answer in the first year under Kirk Cousins and under Raheem Morris. The only thing, Donnie, that I have been skeptical of for the Dirty Birds this offseason, after they signed Kirk Cousins and placing them as the divisional odds-on favorite, was what the heck Terry Fontenot, the general manager for the Atlanta Falcons, was doing in the NFL draft, selecting Michael Penix Jr. 8th overall. Outside of that, I have full belief the Falcons on the actual football field under Raheem Morris are going to be a darn good team this year. And again, anything less than double-digit wins, any divisional title, is a disappointing season in my estimation.
No, you're right about it. And they did make the Cardinals sin in the NFL. The good thing about there is it's never really, or should be in the NFL, a really long rebuild. You stink one season, you get high draft picks, you probably have a lot of capital here that you can spend, and by year number 3 of a regime, you should be upright on your feet and expecting to win divisions. Outside of, let's just say, playing against Patrick Mahomes for 10 straight years, you're never going to be on the upswing here if you're a team that's trying to get its footing. The reason I bring that up is you really miss the point here. I understand the philosophy in theory, Ben, when they're saying, we're probably not going to be drafting this high again. Eventually, we'll need another quarterback. You can't do that in the NFL, because now you're saying to yourselves, and Kirk Cousins brought you in, Kirk, I think you got 4 solid years left in you. Well, you know what would have been great here? To have Drake London on one side and let's just say Roma Dunze on the other to grow together with Kirk Cousins here, as opposed to Michael Penix, who's never going to see the field. You'd be an even better football team over the next 2 to 3 years than you would even if Michael Penix turns out to be a serviceable quarterback 4 years down the road or 3 years down the road. So that is an issue here where they could have been a stronger football team in 2024 if they made the appropriate picks in the draft, which I don't believe they did. But we can only look at what they have on the field this year up against the rest of the talent in that division, and it still holds up for the Atlanta Falcons. As I said, the most important part here is I do expect very good quarterback play out of Kirk Cousins. And again, there are no weak links on this football team where the other teams we're going to talk about, there's a lot of weak links, quite frankly.
And Donnie, you expect this Atlanta team to put up numbers offensively.
Yeah.
They will be a team that I monitor throughout the season in terms of their weekly totals. What is the over-under listed as, and can we lean over for the Falcons? Kirk Cousins has Drake London. Hopefully Kyle Pitts emerges as well. You brought in guys like Darnell Mooney on this Atlanta staff, and then Bijan Robinson, who might be one of the best do-it-all players in the National Football League, much in the mold of Christian McCaffrey. It's why you draft a running back 8th overall 2 years ago. That is the expectation for the Falcons. But it's not just win games 35-31. The defense under Raheem Morris should be good, and as you alluded to, DRS, They weren't bad last year and have the building blocks in place. 11th best total defense in the National Football League a season ago. Top 10 in terms of defending the pass. Did give up some points, nearly 22 per game. That was bottom half of the National Football League, but still a pretty solid defense that you would expect to improve under the defensive-minded head coach in Raheem Morris. So let's take it a step further. Minus 145 for the Falcons, expected to be a double-digit win divisional champ, which would mean they are hosting a playoff game at bare minimum in the National Football League postseason. Is this Atlanta Falcons squad able to contend right away for a conference crown in the NFC?
Well, theoretically, you would have to say yes, even though I don't think they're going to win the NFC. The reason being is if I think they're the best team in the NFC South and they win the NFC South, that means what, Ben? Automatically, you're going to get one home game in your own building, which then puts you into the next round. Let's just say if that was the opening the divisional round and then the championship round, if you win one more football game. And if you are playing that good football and you do win round number 1 in the playoffs at home, why can't you actually contend for an NFC championship? Because you're right there with the final 4 teams in that conference as is. So I'll give them a leg up in that situation. Do I think that they could be a representative here in the Super Bowl out of the NFC? No, I don't. But if you're going to make the playoffs and get a playoff home game, yes, you should actually be a contender in the NFC.
No. So when you look around the NFC right now, is it a conference that is fully up in the air? That remains to be seen. The AFC considered a gauntlet, the harder of the two. Could Atlanta then, at an 11-1 price, position itself to make a run deep into playoff contention? Let's just call it what it is. Atlanta has the easiest schedule in the National Football League. Part of that is because they are the best team considered in the NFC South. They will play teams that have a win total entering this year of 7.5, 7.5, and 5 in a hook in 2024. 10 wins might be the floor. Could this be an 11 or 12-win football team? Could they be contending for that number 1 seed in the NFC? Could they have home field advantage not just in Super Wild Card weekend, but potentially in the divisional round? All of that seems in store this year for the Falcons. Now it's about matching that expectation. And let's not forget, Kirk Cousins is a veteran quarterback who is coming off a torn Achilles. He should be ready to go week number 1. And to put it in perspective, the Falcons will host the Steelers on that first full Sunday of the season, Sunday, September 8th, as a field goal favorite in the ATL against Pittsburgh. Arthur Smith, the former head coach, now the OC in the Steel City, makes his return from the very start to Atlanta. Elsewhere around the NFC South, next.
I told y'all time and time again, Trey Murphy the third. Trey Murphy the third. I'm telling y'all, this guy can absolutely ball as a 3-and-D guy, and he's going to take the next step.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Hey, let's say it comes down for Matt Kuchar in the FedEx Cup ball. Let's say he doesn't make a cut, and it comes down to one shot. And
that's a good point.
And he keeps his card for the top 125 because he did make the jump from, I think it was 113 to 103. So he made a 10-spot jump. So he's got, 17, or let's see, that was not good math. He's got about 20.
Not a bad one. The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
So we started off Win Total Tuesday, breaking down the divisional favorites in the NFC South in an odds-on manner. The Atlanta Falcons, they have the highest win total, 9.5. The over has the juice. The Dirty Birds expected to be a double-digit win football team in 2024. Atlanta has by far the shortest price of any teams out of this division to contend for a conference crown in the NFC, 11-1, before we get a steep drop-off to the Bucs at 35-1, the Saints at 40-1, and the Panthers have the longest price around the NFC at 100-1. Our focus now on the meat and potatoes of this division, the middle two teams, the Buccaneers and the Saints, both clubs with a win total of 7.5. Both have slight juice on the over. And it almost is surprising, DRS, we did not start our conversation with the Buccaneers, a team that has won this division 3 consecutive years, first 2 with Tom Brady, but last year followed suit for a third year in a row under Baker Mayfield. Re-signed this offseason. They extend Mike Evans. They give the bag to Antoine Winfield Jr. and Tristan Wirfs. We should be optimistic about this Bucs team, no? But the win total is just 7.5. How come?
Because I just don't think we're buying into this Buccaneers team. You say, hey, they won last year. Did you see that? They won the division. They won a playoff game. Well, the playoff game was against a banged-up Eagles team that was already off the rails at that point here, and they won a bad division overall. The one thing I do like, though, is I think Baker Mayfield and that offense, Ben, is going to be able to score some points this year. Evans, Godwin, you draft McMillan. That's going to be fun, which means he might have a higher strike zone of touchdown passes, but also more interceptions, which could lead to more points for the opposing teams. Also, keep in mind, we loved what we saw at Baker Mayfield. Unceremoniously, basically chucked out of Cleveland, winds up in Carolina, finds his way down to Tampa, eventually is a starting quarterback. But the architect of that offense was Dave Canales. And you're saying, okay, you know what? Let's see what we can do in the year 2. Well, he's no longer there at that point. Same thing when I take a look at a guy like a Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, who had Shane Steichen, who was phenomenal as his offensive coordinator with a great offense on the way to the Super Bowl. Didn't look all that great last year. Then you might say banged up, shoulder, banged up leg, couldn't run as well. The Eagles were just kind of a mess throughout the entire season. Should I say late in the season? But that still means he lost his offensive coordinator, didn't perform. Are we expecting that out of Baker Mayfield? Not necessarily, but all of those good vibes. Because, we talk about it, Ben, if you equate the situation to Tampa, why are we so high on Detroit? Ben Johnson's still going to be their offensive coordinator. The same thing as we take a look at the Texans here. Why do we love them so much? Because the offense looked great last year, and Bobby Slowick is back again. Maybe you would have a different outlook, or should I say I would have a different outlook on Tampa Bay's offense if Canales had stayed in Tampa Bay, but he's not. I still think that offense is going to be able to move. I still don't think they'll be able to run the football all that effectively, which should lead to a lot more touchdown passes and interceptions, as I stated here. They're a decent football team. I just don't think they're as good as the Atlanta Falcons, who last year were basically just missing a quarterback. Now they got their quarterback and they added weapons. They're better than Tampa is, but I still expect Tampa to be serviceable around that 8 to 9 win mark, but I don't think they have enough gas in the tank to win the division this year, Ben.
It sounds kind of crazy. Baker Mayfield has been in the National Football League for only 6 years because he has been thrust into the conversation for such a long time. The former number 1 overall pick, the Heisman Trophy winner out of Oklahoma back in 2018 to the Browns, had his best season of his National Football League career last year with the Buccaneers. The only year he threw for more than 4,044, ninth most of any starting quarterback around the NFL a season ago. The most touchdowns in his career, 28, the least amount of interceptions in a full starting season as a quarterback. The new offensive coordinator in Tampa, Liam Cohen, who was great at Kentucky as the OC, worked under Sean McVay in Los Angeles for the Rams recently as well, has familiarity with Baker Mayfield from his time in LA back in 2022. I'm optimistic about this Bucs team. I would take over the win total. I do think Tampa can contend and put some pressure on Atlanta for that top spot in the NFC South. Am I going to say the Buccaneers are more than a 9-win football team? Not necessarily, but a really good defense under Todd Bowles, as you would expect there in Tampa as well. The pieces are in place, though, for the Bucs not to go quietly and be a 7-10 football team that the Falcons trample over to get back atop the division. 7.5 is the win total as well in New Orleans. Donnie, a team that you and I were both optimistic about entering 2023 was the Saints. Derek Carr was the new quarterback in the Big Easy. Defense was really good under Dennis Allen. Some offensive pieces in place for Derek Carr to utilize at his disposal. It was a winning season for New Orleans, but it wasn't necessarily what we expected, and ended unceremoniously with Jameis Winston defying his head coach, not taking a knee and scoring a touchdown. Jameis now, of course, in Cleveland. But it did lead to many questioning if Dennis Allen was the right guy to lead this New Orleans team moving forward. He's back as the leader of the Saints.
Yeah, they got some capable pieces on defense. They'll be a solid defense overall, defensive-minded head coach. We understand that. But if we're looking at the offense, I'm just not in love with that offensive line. Question marks at the tackle position. Question marks at the guard position. They do have a decent center. Alvin Kamara, another year. Do we still expect him to be explosive if he's healthy? Yes. Olave, love him as a wide receiver. But also, what are we getting out of Derek Carr, the quarterback, at this point here? I was high on them last year because you thought the stars were going to collide. New quarterback in town, easy, quote-unquote, as we said, not easy schedule, which is what we thought. I actually thought the Saints were going to be a double-digit win team last year and win that division going away, and they weren't able to do it. So maybe it's one of those seasons where I'm not expecting all that much out of the Saints, and they do have some pieces to the puzzle. But again, I just don't think they're as good as the Atlanta Falcons. I think they're more on the level of the Buccaneers, like split with them, challenge them, 8 to 9 wins possibility on the season here. But I'm not expecting big things out of the Saints. Last year for me was such a big letdown. I'm going to need to see more. In the same way that I take a look at the Atlanta Falcons, Ben, and say, boy, that offensive line should be able to move some people around. I don't know if you're going to get that out of New Orleans. And if you can't win the offensive line, you can't win a ton of football games for me.
Yeah, the Bucs had the 8th best scoring defense in the NFL last year. The Saints, 9th best scoring defense, both allowing just a little bit over 19 points per game. I do want to discuss the Saints on the other side, and then we'll get to the Carolina Panthers as well. The team bringing up the rear in this division after a 2-win season in Bryce Young's rookie year. What is he going to do in his sophomore campaign with a new head coach in Dave Canales? Find out next.
I told y'all time and time again, Trey Murphy the third. Trey Murphy the third. I'm telling y'all, this guy can absolutely ball as a 3-and-D guy, and he's going to take the next step.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Hey, let's say it comes down for Matt Kuchar in the FedEx Cup ball. Let's say he doesn't make a cut, and it comes down to one shot. And
that's a good point.
And he keeps his card for the top 125 because he did make the jump from, I think it was 113 to 103. So he made a 10-spot jump. So he's got 17, or let's see, that was not good math. He's got about
Not a bad one. The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
The New Orleans Saints win total entering 2023 was 9.5, expected with a new quarterback to win double-digit games and the NFC South. It did not happen despite a 9-win season. Similar expectations for the Falcons this year as the Saints had a season ago. New Orleans great defensively, not so great on the offensive side of the football, although the numbers weren't terrible by any means. The Saints did go under, though, in 11 of 17 games in 2023. I expect defense to lead the way. And much like you, DRS, I might bet the Saints to go over 7.5. Is it much more than 8? Perhaps maybe even not getting to 9, which is a small margin. That's probably where I land on New Orleans. I do think the Saints will be a good team, but just not necessarily a double-digit win team that is right there step for step with the Falcons and maybe even the Bucs for the top spot in the NFC South. Again, a division that has failed to have 3 of the 4 teams even post a winning record altogether in the same year since 2017. I think that trend could continue this season. And my final point on this division before we get to the Carolina Panthers, who have the lowest win total in this division and the second lowest around the National Football League, is that because it's the NFC South, and there's not even a team with a double-digit win total, although the Falcons at 9.5 do have the over on the juice. All 4 of these teams have 4 of the 11 easiest schedules in the NFL. The Falcons have the easiest, the Saints the 5th easiest, the Panthers the 10th easiest, and the Buccaneers check in at number 11 in terms of the ease of difficulty. When you play in a perceived poor division, there are the opportunities to bolster your win-loss record because your competition is not so great.
Yeah, and exactly. If you take a look at a Saints position, they'll be one of those football teams that surprises and wins maybe a game or two they're not supposed to win or that you thought they could win. And then they're also going to drop 1 to 2 games in the season. Like, how did they blow that game? My goodness, car imploded late in that football game. We're going to see that quite a bit here, but that's why we look at the NFC South, and it is so intriguing because, yes, these teams should have easy schedules, as you said, because they're playing each other, which are going to equate to wins and losses within that division. And I do think it's going to be close. And granted, when you have teams that you don't think are going to run away with the division, it's always going to be close. Hey, team with 9 wins, 2 teams with 7 wins, a team with 5 wins. Even though the team only has 5 wins, still in that month of December, they probably still think they're in contention to win that actual division as long as they're playing a team in their division on a week-to-week process throughout the rest of December. It's a division that we're not in love with, but for me, it's still the Atlanta Falcons up top. But I get where you're coming from here, talking about the scheduling.
So the Panthers bring up the rear in this division, the 4th and longest price to win the NFC South, the lowest win total at 5.5. Carolina actually still has the longest price to win the NFC at 100-1. And despite the Patriots having a lesser win total of only 4.5, the Panthers have a longer price to win the Super Bowl. I wonder if the odds makers are like, whatever. If you bet the Patriots or Carolina, good luck to you. The Panthers have the second shortest number to have the worst regular season record for a second consecutive year after a 2-15 season. Now, I don't know if Carolina goes over 5.5. I don't even think that's truly important. You need to see Bryce Young look good in year number 2, but his first with new head coach Dave Canales in Charlotte. A rookie campaign in which Young started 16 games and threw for more than 250 yards only once. Will Bryce Young have a much better sophomore season, year number 2 in his National Football League career, than his rookie campaign?
I absolutely believe that because sometimes you can say to yourself, like, how do you turn out to be a bust in the NFL, which we've seen a lot of quarterbacks do that. Ryan Leaf comes to mind, Jamarcus Russell comes to mind, but Bryce Young doesn't seem like he has that bloodline where it's like, okay, I don't think I'm going to be very good here. Boy, I got real lucky in college. The competition wasn't great. This was an SEC quarterback that on a week-to-week basis was absolutely flat-out dominant. So why didn't we see that in year number one? There's a multitude of things. Maybe the talent surrounding him wasn't as good. You go out and get a Deontay Johnson to bolster the wide receiving core. You still have Adam Thielen, who we built a nice rapport with last year. Mingo and also Xavier Leggett, who should be able to add in those 4 wide receiver sets. Chuba Hubbard was actually a quality running back last year, and that offensive line isn't bad. And you get Dave Canales, who just reshaped the career of Baker Mayfield, coming in, probably filling into that room going, you know what, kid? I was brought in here to resurrect your career. Watch what I can do for you. So the confidence level for Bryce Young in the locker room is probably at an all-time high right now. Are they going to win the division? No, they're not. But as Ben pointed out, and the same thing we'll tell you time and time again, this season is all about if Bryce Young is your franchise guy. If he is and you win 5 games, who cares? Move forward.
It's a really good point, Donnie. Hour 3 starts with a conversation around the Cowboys. Up next on the Early Line.